101 Country, WBDC. Ty Hunter in the studio with you here on WBDC. And for those of you watching on 18 WJTS, September is a very special month. It is Suicide Prevention Month. And in a series of interviews here on WBDC and WJTS, we have members of the local community and survivors of suicide of Dubois County to talk about suicide prevention, that being Suicide Prevention Month. And this morning, I'm joined with very special guests. Please welcome Jessica Miller from Rooted Counseling. Jessica, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Let's drop some knowledge here first, some facts about suicide in Indiana specifically. We've got some numbers from the Indiana Department of Health. For those of you out there that don't realize how prevalent the suicide is just here in our state, Indiana's been above the national average for suicide deaths for more than 5 years. Since 2017, 1,000 Hoosiers have died by suicide every year. Males are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than females. And on average, about 42 children ages 10 to 17 in Indiana die by suicide each year. 135 people are exposed to each suicide death, and 6 people experience a major life disruption because of that suicide. Again, we've talked with members of survivors of suicide here this month, and we've talked about some of the warning signs and things like that, but you're given a unique perspective with Rooted Counseling. First of all, what is Rooted Counseling?
So Rooted Counseling and Consulting is a private psychotherapy office here in Jasper. So we offer psychotherapy, we offer life consulting, and also some business life direction.
Where's it located?
We are on the corner of 13th and Divine. We are renting an office through Livewire Co-working. So same building as Cash and Wagner and Uptown Salon.
What can therapy do to help?
Therapy offers a unique perspective. You get an unbiased person to talk to kind of bounce ideas off of, and that therapist can then help you think about things from a different perspective.
Who are we trying to reach out there? Who's the people that you want to talk to?
Anybody. Anybody who's struggling or who wants to make a change in their life. What's
the biggest barrier to community members in getting treatment, engaging treatment?
So one, I think the stigma of therapy. Well, I'm not going to therapy because there's something wrong with me. And then cost. Therapy is expensive. It's not covered by all insurances, but I mean, we have fee for service, we have sliding scales, we can make it affordable. And there are lots of resources in our community for individuals who may not have the financial means to get access to resources.
And obviously, it goes without saying how important it is to reach out and get help.
Yes, absolutely.
So if someone out there is struggling, or even if they notice somebody else that is struggling, whether it be a family member, a friend, a coworker, someone, what steps can they do? What can they do immediately right then?
So if you are concerned about someone, ask them directly, are you having a hard time? Are you thinking of suicide? Who's your support system?
I think one thing, we talked about a little bit last interview, but for people out there, sometimes we talk about depression being a very slippery slope.
Yes.
Because before you know it, you're in the full grips of depression, and you don't even know it. And you think that's the new normal, that everybody's like this. That's completely normal, and you kind of and Janet's joining us here as well. And Janet, maybe you can speak to this as well. That slippery slope that is depression, because one bad day stringed a couple bad days, and all of a sudden it's the new normal, and you don't see it as a problem necessarily, and that's a very dangerous situation to be in.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree that when we look at that it can start out with depression and a lot of things happen, and I always use that phrase, when it rains, it pours. So it starts out and little things start to happen. We think we have it all under control, and then we start to add another problem and another stressor until it's pouring, and we don't know what to do because our brain is not functioning to say, this is a good coping skill. This is how to reach out. This is what to do to get help. Because at that point, we're so overwhelmed.
Right. I think we also live in a culture where we put our big girl pants on and we just deal with it, or we'll deal with it at another time. And before we know it, it's been 10, 12, 13 years, and we're in the deepest place we've ever been. Not to mention that we also have a society where we are kind of okay with using alcohol to cope, which we add a depressant with depression, it doesn't usually come up with a positive.
removing that old, strap up your bootlaces and things like that, it does more damage than good, because it's the strongest thing you can do is to reach out for help, to admit that there's something wrong and I need help.
Right, absolutely.
Because those feelings aren't normal. Those feelings of just dread and sadness and things, that's not normal feelings. Everybody gets sad once. Don't get me wrong, but when you're in a funk and can't get out of that funk, it's time to reach out for someone before it gets to a more serious situation where you're contemplating suicide. Janet, last time we talked of all the people that are affected, and you always hear that, well, no one's going to care about me. Nobody's going to miss me if I'm gone. And you couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, way more people than you think will miss you when you're gone.
Yeah, well, we actually have research with suicide loss survivors that 135 people are directly affected by each suicide death. So there's 135 people who carry on. And I know with my brother Kent over 26 years ago, I don't forget him. I think of him all the time. Think about him as my niece is getting married this summer or this winter. Where he is missed, all because he didn't think that we would miss him. But that's so far from the truth.
And that really is for any kind of loss of the person. Years down the road, it's all the holidays and all the big life events where you look around and that person's not there when they should be there. They should be enjoying it with you. It does. People do care. And for those of you out there that have experienced that kind of loss and to suicide, Jessica, those are the people you want to talk to as well. The people that have the people that are affected, especially that 6. They always say the 6 that are have a major life impact, because Janet, as you mentioned last time we were here, the odds of them doing the same thing are greatly increased.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we, Survivors of Suicide, works with Rooted Counseling, because we look for really good agencies in our community that we can help promote, that we can say, if you need help, there is help. There are very well-trained mental health providers in our own community who understand and who get it. And so that's where it's important for us to be able to offer resources here in our community, because we need for people to know they're not alone. There is help.
Jessica, how do we get a hold of Rooted Counseling?
So we have a Facebook page. It's got all of our contact information. You can reach out via our website as well, rootedcounselingandconsulting.com. Our phone number is on the website, on the Facebook group. You can send a message through Facebook, or our phone number you can text.
There is plenty of resources out there for people, and the most important thing is to reaching out, is to getting that help. And especially this month, but really all year round. If you see something, say something, that old adage. Janet, before we go, what are some of the key warning signs to be looking out, maybe for yourself or for others?
I like to use a word called psych ache, which means your brain is completely overwhelmed by so much that's happening in your life, stress. And you can't really think, so that your cognitions are down. Being able to think, process information is really down. We look at
a fog?
Like a fog. Mm-hmm. Oh, very good word. We also look at the changes in appetite. Some people, when they're depressed or very anxious, that either they eat a lot more or they don't eat at all. We also look at sleep. What's a normal sleep pattern for them before compared to now? So either you're getting more sleep or less sleep. But really, it does pay attention more to just what is your body saying. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you probably are. Ask your family, ask your friends, and know that there's help.
Thank you guys so much for stopping by this morning, and we will continue, of course, these interviews throughout the month of September. It is Suicide Prevention Month. Again, there are various resources throughout not only just Dubois County, but the state of Indiana, of course, at the national level as well. Text or call 988 Crisis and Suicide Lifeline. That is the national number there. You can reach out 24 hours a day. If you need to talk to somebody, please talk to somebody and talk to a professional, because they can offer you words and advice and really understand what you're going through. Because for many of you, and survivors of suicide especially, you've been there. You've been there. You know what that feels like. You know what those people are going through, the emotions that are going through their head, and in a unique position to help them. And again, to bring in a professional like Rooted Counseling to talk with you about some of the things that are going on in your life. And really, you can never be too early in this situation. When you start when you get into that, when you see that fog that we talked about, when you are noticing these things, please reach out because again, it's that slippery slope and it's all downhill. So making sure that you take care of yourself, because we always talk about physical health, mental health may be actually more important than anything, because it affects everything that you do.
Right.
Thank you, ladies, so much for stopping by this morning.
Thanks,
that is
bye.
Jessica Miller with Rooted Counseling, of course, Janet Schnell with Survivors of Suicide of Dubois County. September is Suicide Prevention Month, and that's what's going on in 101 Country.